chosen one. Do you feel it? That crushing weight in your chest right now, that suffocating silence that's been following you for months, maybe years. You've been wondering if God has forgotten your name, haven't you? Stop, right where you are. Stop, because what I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie you've believed about your spiritual condition. Heaven just did something it has never done in recorded history. For exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes, every angel folded their wings. Every cherubim hushed their eternal song. The very heartbeat of eternity paused. Why? So you could hear this. You didn't stumble across this message by accident. You weren't mindlessly scrolling when this appeared. Heaven itself hijacked your timeline, silenced the noise of 1,000 distractions, and commanded this moment into existence. The creator of the universe just cleared his schedule for you. Do you understand the astronomical weight of what just happened? While you've been feeling invisible, forgotten, pushed aside by a world that no longer values your wisdom, heaven has been orchestrating the most elaborate divine intervention of your lifetime. Every tear you've cried in secret has been collected. Every prayer you thought went unheard has been recorded. Every night you've lain awake wondering if your best days are behind you, heaven was taking notes. Listen to me carefully. The silence you've been experiencing isn't abandonment, it's preparation. The loneliness you've been carrying isn't punishment, it's positioning. And that ache in your soul that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., that's not despair, chosen one. That's destiny calling your name. Right now, as I speak these words, something ancient is stirring in your spirit. Can you feel it? That trembling in your hands, that quickening of your pulse. That's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your soul recognizing the frequency of eternity breaking through the static of ordinary life. Before we journey deeper into this sacred moment together, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through your generous hearts. Your offerings mean more than you know. You're not just donating, you're sowing seeds into the harvest of souls who feel forgotten in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your very breath in this moment. It all matters. And if this message is already stirring something deep in your spirit, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But understand this, you are sitting in the eye of a divine storm. Heaven has paused its eternal symphony so your ears could hear what's coming next. The angels are leaning in, creation itself is holding its breath. If you feel your spirit trembling right now, if something inside you just whispered, "This is for me," then write 777 inches the comments below. That's not superstition, that's agreement with heaven's timing. That's your soul declaring, "I receive this word as mine." The silence is ending, chosen one. What comes next will change everything. Do you know what it feels like to cry into your pillow at 2 a.m., wondering if anyone, even God, remembers your name? Have you sat in that same pew for 40 years, watching younger faces fill the seats around you, feeling like a relic from a forgotten era? When was the last time someone truly saw you, not your gray hair, not your slower steps, but you, dear chosen one? The silence you've been drowning in isn't random, it's sacred, and what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered about your significance in these twilight years of your life. Heaven doesn't pause for entertainment. Heaven doesn't silence its eternal chorus for drama. When the God of the universe commands every angel to fold their wings, when he orders the cherubim to cease their holy, 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 it's because something urgent is about to unfold, something that cannot wait, something that demands absolute, undivided attention. You see, you've been living under a deception. While the world has convinced you that your value diminishes with age, that your voice grows weaker with each passing year, heaven has been holding its breath, waiting for this exact moment when your heart would be desperate enough to truly hear what it's been trying to tell you for decades. Look at your hands right now. Those weathered fingers have folded in prayer more times than you can count. Those same hands have wiped tears from children's faces, held the dying, and carried burdens that would have crushed others. The world sees wrinkles, heaven sees holy ground. But here's the truth that will rock you to your core. You've been carrying a weight that was never meant for ordinary people. While others lived comfortable lives, you've wrestled with giants. While they slept peacefully, you've battled demons in the darkness. While they received applause, you've received attacks. Do you know why? Because the enemy recognized your calling before you did. Listen to the word of the Lord in Isaiah 43:1. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Not I might call you. Not I used to call you. I have called you by name. Present tense, active, ongoing. Your name is still echoing in the halls of heaven. But the weight you've carried, oh, chosen one, that crushing loneliness when your own children seem too busy to call. That invisible feeling when you walk into rooms where conversations stop and eyes look past you. That terror that creeps in at night whispering, "What if I die?" and no one notices. That weight wasn't your punishment, it was your preparation. Every sleepless night when you've wrestled with doubts about your purpose, every moment you've felt forgotten by family, overlooked by society, dismissed by a youth-obsessed culture, heaven was taking notes. Not to condemn you, but to credential you. Not to judge you, but to qualify you for something so significant that it required this exact level of refinement. You think you've been sidelined, you've been positioned, you think you've been silenced. You've been prepared to speak with authority that only comes from walking through fire. You think your best days are behind you. Child, you haven't even glimpsed what heaven has been preparing you for. The silence ends now. The waiting is over. But what I'm about to reveal next will explain why your journey has been so much harder than others, and why that difficulty is actually the mark of your choosing. You felt it even before you could name it, didn't you? That invisible weight pressing down on your 7-year-old shoulders while other children played without a care in the world. You sat alone at lunch, watching, wondering why you couldn't just fit. While they laughed at cartoon shows, you stared out windows, aching for something you couldn't explain. While they collected baseball cards, you collected moments of silence, desperate to understand why your heart felt so heavy when theirs felt so light. You were the child who cried when you saw roadkill, the teenager who couldn't stomach the cruelty of high school hallways, the young adult who felt like you were drowning in a world that celebrated everything shallow while your soul craved the deep. Tell me something. When did you first realize you were different? Was it when your mother called you too sensitive for the 100th time? When your father told you to toughen up? When your siblings rolled their eyes at your questions about God, about meaning, about why people hurt each other? You carried invisible bruises that no one could see. Invisible scars from words that cut deeper than any physical wound. And the worst part? Everyone told you it was your fault. You were too much, too intense, too emotional, too everything. But here's what they didn't understand. Here's what even you didn't understand until this very moment. You weren't broken. You were marked. Think about Joseph in Genesis 37. 17 years old, carrying dreams that seemed impossible, surrounded by brothers who hated him for the very thing that made him special. Here comes that dreamer. They mocked. They threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery, told their father he was dead. But God saw something different. God saw the future Prime Minister of Egypt. God saw the one who would save nations from famine. Joseph's difference wasn't his curse, it was his calling. Or consider David, the shepherd boy with a harp. 1 Samuel 16 tells us he was forgotten by his own father when the prophet came calling. While his brothers stood tall and impressive, David was in the fields, singing songs no one understood, carrying a sensitivity that the world mistook for weakness. But God heard those songs. God saw the heart. And when the giant Goliath came roaring, it wasn't the tough brothers who stepped forward, it was the sensitive shepherd boy with the sling. You see, chosen one, the world has trained you to apologize for your depth. Society has convinced you that your sensitivity is a flaw to be fixed, rather than a gift to be treasured. But heaven sees what earth cannot see. They saw your tears and called you weak. Heaven saw your tears and called you compassionate. They saw your questions and called you difficult. Heaven saw your questions and called you seeking. They saw your inability to enjoy shallow pleasures and called you joyless. Heaven saw your hunger for meaning and called you chosen. Every moment you felt like an outsider was actually proof that you're an insider in God's kingdom. Every time you couldn't relate to the noise of this world, your spirit was recognizing that you belonged to another one. The isolation you've carried for decades, that wasn't punishment, that was preparation. God had to separate you from the crowd's influence so you could hear his voice clearly. He had to make you comfortable with solitude so you could develop intimacy with him. Isaiah 61:3 speaks of those who receive beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Do you understand what this means? Your heaviness wasn't meaningless. It was the raw material for glory. They saw scars, but heaven saw the seal. Right now, someone reading this knows exactly what I'm talking about. You felt like a stranger in your own family, your own generation, your own era. You've wondered if something is fundamentally wrong with you because you can't find joy in what thrills everyone else. If you know you've always felt different, if these words are echoing in the chambers of your heart like a bell recognizing its own tone, then type, "This is me. Let heaven and this community see you." Let us witness that you're ready to stop apologizing for the very thing that qualifies you for greatness. But understanding your difference is only the beginning, because what you've mistaken for a burden is actually about to become your greatest weapon. You've been asking yourself the same haunting question for years, haven't you? Why does everyone else seem to get their breakthrough while you remain invisible? Why have your golden years become silent years? Why does it feel like God put you on the shelf when others half your age are walking in the spotlight? Listen to me, dear one. What if I told you that what you've called abandonment was actually the most intimate act of divine protection? For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've watched others receive recognition while you faded into the background. You've sat in church pews, watching younger voices get the microphone. You've seen your wisdom dismissed, your experience overlooked, your prayers seemingly echo in empty rooms. And deep down, you whispered, "God, have I become irrelevant?" But here's the shocking truth that will rewrite your entire story. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. Think about Moses. At 80 years old, 80, when most men were counting their final breaths, God appeared to him in a burning bush. 80 years of hiddenness. 40 years in Pharaoh's palace, then 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep, forgotten by history. But God was preparing him for the greatest deliverance in human history. Exodus 7:7 tells us Moses was 80 years old when he stood before Pharaoh and declared, "Let my people go." Why did God wait so long? Because the man who could deliver a nation had to first be stripped of everything except dependence on God. Consider Anna the prophetess. Luke 2:36 tells us she was 84 years old, spending day and night in the temple. 84. For decades, people probably thought she was just another elderly woman praying in the corner. But when baby Jesus was brought to the temple, she was the first to recognize the Messiah. Her hidden years of worship positioned her for the most sacred moment in human history. You see, chosen one, there's a divine pattern here. Seeds don't sprout immediately when they're planted. They disappear into the dark soil, buried from sight, seemingly dead. But underground, roots are spreading, life is forming, strength is building. Then suddenly breakthrough. The earth splits open, and what looked dead emerges more alive than ever. Your life hasn't been a tragedy of wasted years. It's been a masterpiece of divine timing. Every season of silence taught you to hear his whisper above the world's noise. Every rejection refined your character. Every disappointment deepened your dependence on him. While others built their platforms, God was building your foundation. While they collected applause, you collected wisdom. While they gained followers, you gained faith. But here's what's about to shock you. The same God who planted you in obscurity is about to unveil you in glory. What he planted in the hidden years is about to break through the soil of your circumstances with such force that no one will be able to ignore it. So tell me, dear one, are you ready to stop seeing your age as limitation and start recognizing it as liberation? Because what's about to emerge from your years of hiddenness will prove that God's greatest masterpieces are revealed in his perfect timing. Chosen one, look at your hands right now. Really look at them. See those lines, those weathered marks? The world calls them signs of age. But heaven calls them battle scars from a war you didn't even know you were winning. For 70 years, 80 years, maybe 90 years, you've been asking God the wrong question. You've been crying out, "Why me, Lord? Why did I have to endure so much pain?" But what if I told you that your pain wasn't random? What if every betrayal, every rejection, every moment you felt crushed under the weight of life was actually heaven's way of forging your crown? Listen to me carefully. Psalm 34:18 declares, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Notice it doesn't say he avoids the brokenhearted. It says he draws close to them. Why? Because broken vessels hold more oil. Crushed grapes produce the finest wine. And your crushing, it's been producing something precious that this world desperately needs. You think that divorce at 65 destroyed you? No, it revealed your strength. You think burying your spouse broke you? No, it taught you how to love beyond the grave. You think watching your children struggle crushed your spirit? No, it expanded your capacity for intercession. Every scar on your heart isn't shame, it's your credential. Every tear you've cried has been collected in heaven's bottles. Every wound you've carried is proof that God trusted you with fire that would have incinerated weaker souls. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. The enemy has been lying to you for decades. He's whispered that your pain was punishment, that your struggles meant God had abandoned you. But your pain was never punishment, it was preparation. That betrayal from your closest friend, it created space in your heart for divine friendship. That rejection from the church you served faithfully, it pushed you into direct selection by heaven itself. You've been refined in a furnace so hot that what emerges isn't just gold, it's pure fire. And fire, chosen one, changes everything it touches. Right now, someone is reading this who's been carrying shame for 40 years. Someone who looks in the mirror and sees failure instead of a warrior. Someone who whispers, "I'm too broken for God to use." Stop. That's the enemy's voice, not heaven's. Your scars aren't disqualifications, they're your resume for the kingdom. Your limp isn't weakness, it's proof you wrestled with the divine and survived. Your tears aren't evidence of defeat, they're liquid prophecy watering the ground for your greatest harvest. The crown that's being placed on your head right now, it's not made of earthly gold. It's forged from every moment you chose, faith over fear, love over bitterness, hope over despair. It's woven from the very pain you thought would destroy you. Declare it now. Say it out loud. My scars are my credentials. Can you feel the shift? That trembling in your spirit? Heaven is confirming what hell tried to hide. You weren't broken by the battles, you were built by them. But this revelation demands a response, because a crowned warrior who remains silent is a contradiction of their calling. Listen to me, dear one. That clock on your wall, it's not just marking time, it's counting down to the end of heaven's pause. You think you have all day to consider this message. You think you can bookmark this moment and return to it later when it's more convenient. You're wrong. Heaven's silence has an expiration date, and it's closer than you think. Right now, at this very second, the angels are shifting restlessly. Their wings are beginning to unfurl. The cherubim are clearing their throats, preparing to resume their eternal song. And when they do, when heaven's orchestra begins to play again, this window of divine intervention slams shut. Here's what breaks my heart. You've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years believing the world's timeline. Society told you your productive years ended at 65. They handed you a gold watch and said, "Step aside, make room for the younger generation." They convinced you that your best chapters were already written, that your influence was fading, that your time was running out. But God's calendar doesn't match man's calendar. While you've been counting down your remaining years, heaven has been counting up to your moment of activation. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season isn't ending, it's just beginning. Moses was 80 when God called him to split the Red Sea. 80. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Caleb was 85 when he demanded his mountain. These weren't men winding down their lives, they were men stepping into their greatest assignments. But here's the terrifying truth most people miss. Divine appointments don't wait for convenience. They don't reschedule for better timing. They interrupt, they demand. They require immediate response. How many of you right now are thinking, "I'll pray about this later. I'll decide tomorrow. Let me finish this season first"? Stop. That's the voice of delay speaking, and delay is destiny's greatest enemy. Remember Lot's wife? She looked back for just one moment, 1 second of hesitation, and became a pillar of salt. The children of Israel had one night to apply the blood to their doorposts. One night. Not when they felt ready, not when it was convenient. That night. The urgency you're feeling in your chest right now isn't anxiety. It's the Holy Spirit pressing against your spirit, whispering, "This is it. This is your moment. Don't let it pass." I need you to understand something that will shake you to your core. Every day you delay is a day someone else doesn't receive the ministry you're carrying. Every week you hesitate is a week a lost soul continues wandering. Every month you postpone is a month your family misses the blessing God wants to release through you. You are not just receiving this word for yourself, you are receiving it for your children who've lost their way, for your grandchildren who don't know their identity, for your community that desperately needs the wisdom only you can provide. But silence is ending. Can you feel it? The atmospheric pressure is changing. Heaven's pause is lifting. And once those angelic voices resume their eternal chorus, this divine interruption becomes a memory. Don't keep this revelation to yourself. Someone in your contacts list is drowning in despair right now, believing their purpose died with their youth. Share this message. Let them know their time is now. Subscribe to stay connected to what heaven is doing in this hour. Because chosen one, when destiny knocks, it doesn't knock twice. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this divine encounter, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you, like precious stones in your heart. First, remember this. Heaven's silence was never abandonment. It was preparation. Every tear you've shed, every prayer you've whispered, every night you've wrestled with purpose has been recorded in the courts of eternity. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You are finally ready. Second, your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. While the world sees retirement, God sees reinforcement. Moses didn't peak at 40, he peaked at 80. Your grey hair isn't a sign of decline, it's a crown of wisdom. Your scars aren't marks of failure, they're credentials of endurance. Third, the silence is ending, but your assignment is beginning. The same God who paused heaven's orchestra for you is now calling you to add your voice to the eternal symphony. You are not just surviving your golden years, you are entering your greatest chapter. But beloved, you are not walking this path alone. The God who spoke light into darkness is still speaking purpose into your life. He's not done writing your story, he's just handed you the pen for the most important chapters. And beyond his presence, you have a community right here, thousands of fellow chosen ones who understand your journey, who felt the same calling, who are ready to stand with you in prayer and encouragement. Before I release you into your destiny, let me ask you this. If heaven went silent just so you could hear your calling, what will you do with this sacred commission? Will you step boldly into what God has prepared, or will you let fear convince you it's too late? Now, Close your eyes wherever you are, and let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words as I pray over your life. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them, not just their age, but their potential, not just their past, but their purpose, not just their scars, but their strength. Father, breathe fresh wind into their weary bones. Where they feel depleted, restore them. Where they feel forgotten, remind them of their worth. Where they feel uncertain, grant them divine clarity. Open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Lord, silence every voice that has whispered you're too old or your time has passed. Replace those lies with your truth, that your best wine is saved for last, that your greatest servants are often your most seasoned ones. Give them dreams that direct them, visions that guide them, and supernatural energy to fulfill what you've called them to. Protect their hearts from discouragement. Surround them with people who see their value. And Father, let them feel your smile over their lives, your deep pleasure in who they are and who they're becoming. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Share what stirred in your spirit today. Tell us what God spoke to your heart through this message. Ask questions, request prayer. Let this community surround you with love and intercession. And please, share this video with someone who needs to hear that their greatest days aren't behind them, they're ahead of them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. You're not just subscribing to content, you're connecting with a movement of chosen ones who refuse to fade quietly into the background. Until we meet again, remember, heaven didn't go silent just to entertain you. It went silent to commission you. Now go and let your light shine in a world that desperately needs the wisdom you carry. You are chosen, you are called, and you are never, ever alone.